yourself. Be authentic, how God made you to be. And speaking of Miss America, y'all are very fortunate because I have just written a song. I sang it last week for the first time. I went back to the recording studio before I came here. I said, we got to add more instruments. This song is too much fun. It's all about growing older, and as a former beauty queen, it's awfully hard when you look at yourself and go, thank God I did not win swimsuit. Because people would be saying, did you win swimsuit? So it's called, you ready for this? I Hit the Bottle. I hope y'all enjoy it.
I looked in the mirror, what did I see? A gray-haired woman looking at me. Fine lines and wrinkles, gone was her twinkle. Fearing a sneeze might make her tinkle. So I hit the bottle. Give me a swig of Mary Kay. I'll lick a jar of oil of Olay. Lady Clairol and Maybelline. Please take me back to when I was 16. Now, do I want to be 16 again? I don't think so. I looked in the mirror, what did I see? Bad skin and braces looking at me. Hair so frizzy, filled with split ends. Desperately searching for a boyfriend. So I hit the bottle. Clear as silk, a splash of sea breeze, a supersized can of Aussie Breeze. Drink up the OJ, be healthy and fair. But I need those cans to roll up my hair. I thought of the many trials I've been through. Time has passed, now I know what to do. I looked in the mirror, what did I see? A gray-haired woman, as wise as can be. So much better than Mary Kay. Give me a bottle of Chardonnay.
Well, hey there, everybody. I'm so excited. We have got a wonderful show for you today. And I hope you like the little lead in, my little song I wrote called I Hit the Bottle. But it's all about getting older. But yes, the most important thing this month is breast cancer awareness. And I've got a couple of my little books that I wrote. When I say little, I mean little. So what tatas teach us. I wrote this for breast cancer awareness. My sister was a survivor and love to give a couple of these away, maybe 3 or so. So y'all send me a private message on my Facebook page and I'll get it in the mail. Look how thin it is. But it's really, I think it's clever because it's using our anatomy in an analogy. Take care of ourselves, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But y'all are going to love Pat. Pat, and I hope I'm saying his name, Dwyer. Is that right, Pat? Yes, he's just, you just wait. This guy, and y'all, I'm sorry I keep going back to comedy night because I met some of the most amazing people at NSA that I hope will continue to shine brightly. In fact, they highlighted Pat recently on one of our NSA recordings, and it was just so interesting on a spotlight. I want to call it that because I remember I did one a while back. But anyway, brilliant, wonderful. We're excited. I'm going to bring in the man with the plan. I'm going to unmute and I am going to enter the studio.
Hello,
We're,
hello.
we're tickled. And always when I make this picture larger, I have to do my hair.
No,
I tell you
tell me
what,
about
you
it.
fix yours. Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything, but
Thank you. I mean, you're very generous to not bring it up. I truly appreciate it. Although, the shadow on the chins always gets it. Let's be honest.
oh, tell me about it. Listen, this is a war right here. I mean, I can't stand it.
Doesn't.
I bought something from Amazon because my husband was saying, "Why don't you do something about it?" Like, and I said, "Well, really? Thank you." So I bought this thing, and it's you put it, glue it here, and
Okay.
glue it here, and it goes like this. And I didn't have the little place hooked into the cord, and it flew off, and my cat flew in the air. It was the Cirque du Soleil of trying to be.
That sounds amazing. Is this a thing that you wear in the evening times, or is this like an onstage thing?
This?
No, the guillotine.
I thought you liked my dress.
I do. I love it's adorable.
Yeah, I wore this to you. I said, Pat, you like all this fun stuff, so I thought I'd be fun.
It's pretty fun.
And look at my Christmas present from my husband.
Oh wow! Yeah, that looks like an amulet. That's great.
It's pretty. So, honey, if you don't realize it, this is your Christmas present to me this December. Of course.
There comes a certain age where we stop buying Christmas presents for anyone other than ourselves, and that's fine. I understand that.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
tell me about you. I read. I'm so into the RV thing, but you share a little bit about you. I was fascinated when I read all about you.
Sure. Well, okay. So where shall we start? It is. There's a lot of twists and turns, but I grew up in New England. I grew up in Boston, and then moved to Ohio at a certain point. My family moved around a little bit. I grew up. I mean, I know, my friend, you're a deep Southern lady, and that's okay. I am very much a deep-seated Yankee, Irish Catholic Yankee, right? And so I grew up learning about Kennedy, and I grew up learning about the Kennedys in general. And it was a dream of mine to join the Peace Corps and to serve in the Peace Corps. And I spent all my college years attempting to get into the Peace Corps. And and by that, what I mean by that is I went to all the info sessions and I learned as much as I could about the Peace Corps and the application process and what it would take to have a good application to the Peace Corps, because I did not want to get denied what that would do for me. And I ended up getting in the Peace Corps, and I was sent to stationed in Mauritania, West Africa, which is the Sahara Desert. It's a massive country, but it is all Sahara.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. So again, my little New England body, not used to the heat. It was about 130 degrees on a cold day there. So I mean, I can remember very definitively waking up in the middle of one night, because we would sleep outside because it was exponentially colder and cooler to sleep outside. Cooler like, hey, but also cooler like, ooh, nice. So we would sleep outside, and it was I looked at I was freezing one night, and I grabbed a towel to give myself a blanket, because at that point I wasn't used to having blankets, but it was so cold, and it was 88 degrees. And my body had already kind of started to acclimate to that heat, but it didn't go great, because I ended up with dysentery. I was trying to drink water and it wouldn't stay in my body. I was trying to eat food and it wouldn't stay in my body. I ended up with dysentery 3 times in a row, just back to back to back. I would start to get better and then just get worse again.
Good heavens.
It's no joke. No joke.
No. Oh, wow.
So,
speaking of jokes, when did you decide to enter into the comedy world?
Well, that's exactly what happened. Is when I was in the Peace Corps, I got finally sent to the infirmary, and I was so prior to this, I was looking to go into the State Department. I had studied language. I had studied international relations. I had studied politics. And when I was in the infirmary, I was making everybody giggle. It just kind of what was because that was how I was dealing with my stress. I had always just made people laugh. I was just kind of the thing that I did. And the volunteers would come and visit me every day. And I was like, oh, this is so kind that everybody's coming to say hi. And one of my friends sat on my bed one time and was just like, you're making everybody giggle. And that's kind of what you do. And you do it very well. Do you realize what you're doing though? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're helping us escape from what we're dealing with by making us laugh. And you're escaping from what you're dealing with in the same way. Wouldn't you be better served and serve the world in a better way if you just did comedy? And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? So he told me about Second City in Chicago. He encouraged me to do stand-up, and I did not want to do stand-up. I'm not interested in being the only person on stage. Well, ironically, because now I'm a speaker and it's literally the same thing. But at the time, I wasn't interested in standing on stage by myself. And he talked me into going to Chicago and checking out Second City. And so when I got sent home from Peace Corps for recovery, I was getting ready to re-enlist in the Peace Corps and getting ready to go to a slightly colder climate country. And I moved to Chicago with a backpack and a duffel bag. And I stayed at a hostel for a few days. And then one of my friends from the Peace Corps said, I've got a house in Lincoln Park. Why don't you just stay there until you're on your feet? Because everyone in the Peace Corps knew what I was doing, because we were sending messages back and forth because they were very close friends of mine at that point. And I started studying comedy in a very real way, almost like a graduate program. I did the conservatory at Second City, and I ended up on tour and toured the country for a long time and worked for all the big theaters in Chicago. And that was 20 years ago. So I've been doing professional comedy since in improv and sketch comedy and writing TV commercials and all sorts of stuff like that.
That is incredible. Isn't it funny how a couple of things I heard when you shared that is that many times when we have adversity, it ends up being a gift when we look at it from a different perspective. And the fact that so many people were drawn to you because you gave them a mental vacation with humor and your comedy. And that's tremendous.
Yeah. Ironically, you just hit on one of my topics for speaking now is about redefining hindrances as gifts and how to do that for ourselves and make that easier. Because I've lived through that so many times.
Yeah.
Might as well make light make an opportunity out of something that could be really bad and really frustrating.
When you think in all of your material, because a lot of these folks, we love Jeannie and miss her terribly. And this kind of was birthed from folks just still wanting to laugh and enjoy the people that Jeannie maybe touched or had an influence with. But before we talk about that, tell me one of your favorite bits to do that you feel like resonates with your audience.
So a lot of my program, because I come from the root of improv, a lot of my program is having people on their feet, participating and doing stuff and really discovering beautiful things in the moment and having fun collectively with those moments. And it's something that makes me so happy. But I will say, from a structure perspective, one of the things that I love to do at the beginning of my programs is I will always get people up on their feet and just to get their bodies energized a little bit, just for the sake of we sit at these conferences all the time. So getting people up and getting them moving. But I always start with doing boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap, and getting the audience to join me in what would be the We Will Rock You thing. And then I'll say, yay, good, sit down. And I just stop and make them sit down. And the thing I love about that is that it breaks the pattern that we know, and it breaks. Then from that moment on, the audience doesn't actually know what's going to happen, but they know they're going to have fun. And that for me is one of my favorite kind of bits.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that is a great way to start. In fact, I reached out to you because I had to do I was speaking in Kentucky and they wanted me to do some interactive, and I'm going, Pat, help. Yeah. And you gave me some really great exercises and I did use them, and man, do I appreciate that. I think it was the listening, and it really worked. It really worked. about the last, was it the last word, the first
Mhm.
letter of the last word someone spoke, and you had to take that letter and have that would be your first word, the first initial. Is that right? Did I do
Yep.
that right? I hope
Yeah,
so.
it's the if you're listening to what somebody's saying, it's the last letter of the last word that they say has to be the first letter of the first word that you respond with. And so then
Yeah.
you go back and forth and back and forth. But
Well, I mean,
I mean, it makes us listen.
yeah, I saw people going like this to each other, like
Oh yeah,
really zoned in, which we're missing in today's world.
that's
People are so
true.
busy,
Yeah.
going there. And so when we talk about Jeannie, I don't know if you personally knew Jeannie or what are your impressions of her? Tell me about that.
So I don't. I will think that anybody who gets into the speaking industries and wants to even look at humor, if you type in humorist into any search engine, you're gonna get Jeannie's name to pop up.
Oh,
And that
absolutely.
I am of the generation that was right when Jeannie was out. And so I
Hmm.
never met her. I don't know her personally. I've seen her stuff online a time or two. And as like oh, this is the person that everybody knows has always been my frame of reference with Jeannie, and people loved her. And it's so, I mean, if I could even have an 18th of her legacy of how she affected people, not even like what she did or who she was, like how she affected people would just be so lovely. And so that's always been my impression of her. But I'm just removed enough that I hear people talk about her all the time, but I don't know. I don't have any frame of reference for her as a person.
Yeah, it's
But
the legacy part of Jeannie that you understand. And I'll tell you what's so funny because right now I'm in a hotel room in Orlando, and my husband's with New York Life, and he and I met up here. I spoke at this Hammond Beach resort, which was super fun, and
that's
I
cool.
drove to the airport and met him. I went downstairs this morning for breakfast, and one of the guys that is with this New York Life crowd named Tom, he said, "Jane, do you happen to know a humorist? She's tall." That's all you had to say. I said,
Oh,
"Jeannie
yep.
Roberts." And he went,
That's
"Oh
her.
my gosh." And everybody at the table, he said, "You've got to Google, don't send a man to the grocery store."
Oh, yeah.
And that
That's
was one of
legit.
her viral videos. So everybody in the table, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. So, when you can, I agree with you. If I could have someone say, "Oh my gosh, that one bit that Pat does or Jane does, that it lives on and how funny it is and how
Mhm,
evergreen it is." If
mhm.
we could have that kind of effect on people and all the other funny things, Jeannie just thought funny.
She
And
sure did, yeah.
she just thought funny. And then Lou Heckler, I don't know if you personally know Lou, but he coached a
I've
lot of us.
heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But my question to you is, I watched you do your improv. Can
Mhm.
people learn to be funny in an improv sense, or
I
do you need to divide that up into two questions?
I thought you
A,
were
can
gonna
people
stop
learn to
at
be
"Can
funny?
people learn?" Can people learn? Then that's all you were gonna say. I'm like,
No,
I
no, that
guess, I
no,
think
I,
so.
I can tell you
Yeah.
some can't. Bless their hearts.
Can they learn to be funny? I think they can learn to manufacture funny. I think
Okay, all
that's
right,
able
that's
to be
good.
done.
Because I know
And I
you
think
coach
that
as well. I saw
I
on
do,
your
yeah.
resume that you're a coach.
Yeah, I would say coaching might not be quite right. I call it creative consulting because
Okay.
I'm not normally emotionally responsible for anybody. It's I barely take care of myself, never mind anybody else.
No
Um,
kidding.
forget
Yeah, me
yeah.
too.
But if you want me to come in and go, hey, this is why this is working, this is what could be better, I can do that all day long. The thing for me about funny, or if somebody is funny, if somebody's able to have it, it's all structure. I think that like not on too dissimilar to music or really any other art, but I think music is really a finite example because it is mathematics. You know that these certain tempos, these certain patterns, these certain um, uh, sequences resonate with people, but more importantly, they sit with people. More importantly, they like it. Like pop music is a great example. They have tonalities, they have lines that they call sticky. And they're called sticky because they stick in people's brains without them knowing why that's happening. It is
Mm,
very common in the music industry for them to go, oh, that song's real sticky. But what that means is that people are going to sing it over and over again. It's something they will not be able to get out of their head. And I think that you can create that math that is music. You can create that in comedy. It's a matter of figuring out what those patterns are and then figuring out the performer's voice and how they can deliver their specific patterning and their sequences. I mean, people laugh for a couple different reasons. We know that for certain, one of which is surprise. And humans are built on pattern. And if you take a pattern and you reestablish that pattern and then you break that pattern, they will always laugh. Not too dissimilar to what we were talking about before when I said, ha 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 ha, sit down. Like that breaks that pattern. And look, you're laughing right now. It's just that's what happens. We break the pattern that we know, and it will surprise us, and that will cause us to laugh.
It is a science. People don't realize that when people get up on the stage and do, their best stuff or whatever, it is absolutely work. I mean, you have to have the timing. You have to, and people don't realize there's certain words that are funnier than other words.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the South, the word, I mean, if I were to say, well, at 2 o'clock, I mean, it'd be funnier to say at 5 or at 9.
Oh yeah, draw out
You see,
the syllables.
those are funnier words.
Mhm.
And like 1 is not funny. 9 and 5. I mean, why do you think Dolly Parton working 9 to 5? I mean, she knew what she was doing. Of course, always 9 to 5. I get that.
I mean, yeah, fair, but still.
Yeah, but that song is another. Speaking of musical patterns, and I love music, as you know. But you are so right. I mean, I know that I would watch people that were delivering anything at national speakers, and I remember seeing Jeannie. Speaking of Jeannie, on a treadmill. And she was talking to herself, and I could see her pause. I mean, it was an art and a craft.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to treat it like that. And you've got to know your stuff so well. Nothing can interrupt that train of thought and that pattern. It truly is a science.
Yes, I fully agree. I mean, I think, too, the thing about stand-up that I love about stand-up is that it is rehearsed. It is practiced. You're crafting a song, you're crafting a masterpiece. And the more that you do it, the more that you test that, the more that you hear your audience feedback, either open laughter or just a collective breath in, you go, okay, cool. Now we know where that goes. And I wrote sketch comedy for many years. We would use improv to generate the ideas for the sketches that we would then write. And that was one of my favorite things, because the more that we did it, the more laughs you can mine from that, and the more you get out of that. I mean, my program has improv in it, which we will only ever refer to as exercises, because people freak out when you say improv.
Oh my gosh, yes. They think about Wayne Brady on Whose Line Is It Anyway? They go, oh gosh, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's like, no. You are capable. You make decisions all day long. I'm just asking you to make a decision while pretending to be somebody else. That's all it is. But the idea of like jumping in and learning the music and making it better and having people come to you. Like, I love that my speaking program is I mean, it's probably 60-40 of me speaking versus doing exercises. And I love that I get to needle away at that every single time I perform. It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I think what you're bringing in, you're breaking it up, and people I mean, our attention span is pathetic, to be honest.
That's fair.
And I mean, and people want, oh God, I think that makes us good that makes us good on the platform, though, because talk about ADHD. I mean,
it's so bad.
Yeah, I get so derailed.
Oh, I say that to my clients all the time. Like, I don't want to sit through this crud. I will not make anyone else do it either. I promise. I might have a good time.
That's the truth. I mean, I don't see how my husband stands it, to be honest. I know there's a lot of value in it, but you sit there and go, oh, someone shoot me. I can't stand this anymore. And oh gosh, I mean, have you ever been in an environment where you are the CE credit and you're going, no way.
Yeah.
I'm a CE
I don't know why.
credit continuing.
I think I try not to be a person with ego. I try not to be a person who finds myself to be important in any way, shape, or form. But when people put stuff like a CE credit on me, I go, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, that's on you at this point. Like, you're the dummy, maybe, because I'm like, like, you knew what you did. Like, you had to know.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. When the meeting planner calls me and they said, "Well, we like for your program to be a continuing education credit," and I'm going, "No, I don't bring anything. I'm nothing. I'm unworthy." That's all
Yeah,
I could think of. But I know what they want. And that's why
yeah,
I called you for that program, you know. So, and then there
right.
are groups like this one I did a couple of days ago in that Hammock Beach. This was it was called a Relax, Rewind, and Recharge. It was just
Oh,
women that wanted to get together and just, it was all frou-frou, but it was so much
yeah,
fun. They wanted to laugh and they wanted to learn. So, I'm very
cool.
intentional when I send out my questionnaire, like, what do you all want?
Oh,
And
yeah,
and if I can't bring it, they ain't no way I'm
yeah.
going to put my foot. I've had people call me and say, "Can you do a session on time management?" I'll go, "What? No." But I know people who can do that.
Yep,
But I would
absolutely.
never do that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, no.
Oh, totally.
Because the
Yeah. I
last
mean,
thing
but
you want
that's,
to do is get somebody that gives an evaluation going, "Well, that was worthless."
yeah.
And you're going, "I agree. I totally agree with you."
I was facilitating a larger day recently. We did some of my stuff and I helped them work through some of their problems. And it was for, let's just call it like pipe pipe management and fitters and people who deal with water and in
Hmm.
general, like pretty much anything that needs to go to and from in a pipe in water. And why would I know? Okay, I know diddly about that. Like, I know more now because they told me about it, but I don't. I'm there to facilitate. I'm there to entertain. I'm there to move things forward. I'm there to help them have a conversation. Somebody, I got the review back and they were like, it would be nice if you knew more about what we do as like not what we do, about the small pieces of our industry that help us do. I'm like, how would I? That's not why I'm even. There's no reason why I would know that. Like, I'm here to just make you guys like be able to talk to one another. That's what I'm here for. And I sent it back to the client. He was like, yeah, that person's grumpy. I'm like, okay, got it, great. That's not on me
Okay,
then.
good. Yeah, I know. Isn't it weird how you focus on that one? I did
Oh,
a
sure.
big, yeah, and I was in Wisconsin actually, and I thought y'all said it like this, Wisconsin, because it's like,
Oh, we
like
can't.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Yeah, it goes right there. Wisconsin. I
Yeah.
can talk like you do. Well, that's a
See,
little
that's New.
Yankee
Wait,
in me.
you're
I've been
bordering
around a
on New
lot of
York.
Yankees.
Yeah.
Do what?
I said you're bordering on New York. I think it's like everything's a Y
I
with
know.
K
Everything goes
Y O
with,
N S O N.
well, and like, don't you know? But isn't that more
Yeah.
Michigan? I mean, Minnesota, don't you know?
Yeah,
Don't you
they say
know?
oofta a lot around here. That's what I know.
Oofda.
Oofta. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so for those who don't know, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin currently.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
That's where the conference was. It was from
Yeah.
the Extension Service. Have you ever
Oh,
done
okay.
that one? Karen
No.
Dickrell. I loved her. Anyway, I did it like 3 times. I just loved it. But
Oh,
there was
cool.
a speaker in front of me. I will not mention their name, but they took their time, may I just say, went
Hmm.
over and kind
Oh,
of chopped into me, and there was no break. And up I was because they were supposed to take a
oh,
break and they ate up the break. And
wow.
so after I did the program, speaking of evaluations,
Yeah.
we got the evaluations, and one woman said, "I did not like that second speaker." That was me.
Oh,
And
all
she
right.
said, I won't say the word. I will not say the word, but I missed my bathroom opportunity.
Oh,
Yes, she missed it. She said, "I lost it." And I wrote back to the meeting planner and said, "Where did she find it? Because I don't want to go there." But I
also,
mean,
what part of the
seriously,
room?
yeah,
What part of the room did she lose it in? Because I think we should send cleaning over there because it seems as though she's got a
yeah.
bigger issue.
There's so many nightmare stories about speakers that have had really bad situations personally and from the audience. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that, you know what? If you look at it through humor eyes, it gets to be a funny bit.
Yeah,
You have to,
absolutely.
yeah, you have to put on your humor eyes. So,
I-
Pat, when I was reading your bio, you got to tell me about. I see your new books that are coming out, and I
yeah.
love thinking about the thoughts that your thoughts are thinking about thoughts. That's crazy. And then the RV book about the
Mhm.
travels. You got to talk about that. I was fascinated with that.
Oh, sure. Well, so COVID happened. I don't know if you've heard of COVID.
Oh,
When
COVID.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That little
that one
nasty
blip
thing.
of a time. Yeah.
Hmm.
So when COVID is, well, I should take a step back. My son has a congenital heart defect,
Oh,
and he's
my.
young and doesn't, or at the time he was real young, and it's really hard to keep a kid away from other people. Just in general, it is. I mean,
Oh,
we
wow.
tried to keep him as close to us as we could, but it's difficult. And we early on in the pandemic, we weren't sure. No one was sure what would happen to. There was a story. There were stories about hearts enlarging and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. I don't know if you remember that. And
Oh,
so
do I?
we were really, really scared, and which is fair. I mean, we're trying to keep our kid alive. That's fair, I think. Our neighbors in Wisconsin were not necessarily interested in the pandemic as a concept, and so
Oh,
we were put in a position that was it was very suburban, but people were not taking care of each other in any
yeah.
way, shape, or form, and so we were nervous about that. But more importantly, we just didn't really love where we were living at the time. We were outside of
Hmm.
Milwaukee, and it wasn't really a town that we were really jonesing with necessarily. A great place, nice people, things like that. But there was something about it that just wasn't quite right for us, and so the prospect of getting trapped in the house for several years was not something we were interested in. So we
Hmm.
sold everything that we had. I bought a pod, like got one of those little pods that you can put some furniture in. We sold or donated everything else that we had. We sold the house. We bought an RV
Wow.
from a family friend, and we took off for a year. And it was absolutely awesome. I mean, because all my gigs disappeared. Like I was newer to the speaking industry at that point. I'd made the pivot from comedy and improv and sketch to professionally speaking. And then when the pandemic happened, it was everything just disappeared, and I wasn't established enough to have different kinds of gigs. And so we left, and we weren't sure where it was going to go. I think the original plan was, that I would work and try to get gigs while my wife drove the RV. But Jane, this was a 40-foot long RV, like a class A, so it's all enclosed. And then we also had a 20-foot car hauler on the back of the RV. So it was
Good grief. I'm
yeah,
impressed.
I mean, it's as close to a semi as you can get without needing a license, basically. Um, and we also know that now. And hey, friends out there in the world, if you've gotten this far in this 28 minutes worth of this recording, I'll tell you, I used to be so scared of semis. If you are not scared of RVs, you're doing the wrong thing. Most people have no licensing. They don't know what they're doing. They're just driving.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
it's a
Yeah.
mess. It is a hot mess. So, anyways, we bought the RV. We ended up traveling the country for a year. My wife very quickly told me she was never touching the RV and that I would have to drive. So our plans derailed pretty quickly in regards to me working more often than not. I still made connections. I still did what I could. I didn't really get any gigs in that time, but we ended up seeing 30 states in 9 months, traveling the country for that whole time. We stayed in Wisconsin for like a month or two. And then on the back end, when we were looking for a new house at the end of it, what was going to be that working time for me turned out to be the most cathartic, wonderful gift that I've ever given myself as a business professional, because I learned a heap about myself. I learned about my program, what I wanted to deliver to the world, what I wanted to be on stage, remind myself what was the most successful thing for me in Chicago and how I perform and my voice and things like that. All of those things I was allowed to just sit with. And thank God I have such a supportive and absolutely lovely, wonderful wife that was
Gosh,
there.
that's what it takes. Oh,
Oh my God,
yeah.
it was absolutely spectacular. I don't know what she
Incredible.
sees in me, but I will keep showing up to the table. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
I love that. And I see, when is the book coming out? The RV. I call it the RV book
yeah,
because I thought it
that
said coming soon.
it is. It's coming by the end of this year. I'm not going to get it out in time. But I will eventually change the dates on my website and we'll figure it out. No, I got caught up in a lot of gigs this year, so unless November, December completely disappear on me, which who knows? There's always a
It
possibility.
could.
It will probably be coming out early next year. The RV Boom book might be coming out late next year. But the other book, the Thought While Thinking Thoughts About Thoughts, that book will be out earlier than later.
I love that. So tell me, what is that book actually, the theme of that book?
Sure. So just as an exercise for myself, for many years, I've kept a journal that has one thought a day or one lesson a day or one thing that I wanted to take forward a day. And so it's not a matter of like wrapping up the things that happen, but it's the one lesson from the day that I think that is tangible enough that I can take forward with me. And so I took of my, well, several journals. I took 130 of those ideas that are probably more applicable to normal people and not just my crazy brain, and commented on about 30 of them, 35 of them, and wrote an essay about a couple of them, and that's what it'll be. So it'll be a mix of, or it is a mix of single thoughts and also conversations about those single thoughts.
I love that because, I've always struggled with staying into, like I started out speaking in schools.
Oh, yeah.
And to elementary, high, and middle school, God help us all.
Yeah.
And so
Very great.
that was really good training ground. But I started out, knowing that I couldn't make these kids laugh. The only thing that would work was if I tripped and fell flat on my face. I knew that. So then, that was way early in the career. And then I started realizing, you know what? And I was like with you, oh, that was funny. Oh, okay. And so then people tell you kind of. And so then I started messing with comedy. But here's the point. It took me a long time, Pat, to come up with who I really am. And I felt like just making people laugh and having that little mental vacation. I love that. And there's a place for that. But I feel like I've been through stuff that I just burned to share with people. And so just like the other day when I was with these women and I started thinking, and I do the thing about sweet tea. By the way, every one of my books is a speech title and I just massage it to death. And so I have 3 sweet tea secrets to renew, refresh, relax, or whatever it was at the Palm, whatever I was, a Palm Coast thing. So so when I got to the season, I thought I just got to talk about some wisdom here because seasoned people are wise people. And so I always like to collect wise sayings. And one of them, it's not funny at all, but I think it's so packed with wisdom. And I heard a minister say this at a conference, and he had just released a book. And he said that we are born in the likeness of our parents, but we die in the likeness of our decisions. And that just hit me. I said, boy, that's just so here I am making these people laugh. And then all of a sudden I stop and say, let me tell you something very wise. I feel like personally, I can kind of hear that from you, that you feel like you have a gift of comedy and humor, but you've also, with the thinking about thoughts, the thoughts of your thoughts, it sounds like you're going a little deeper. And I think most of us that entertain, they're definitely the comedy mask of the funny and the tragic. There is a definite spot, I think, where we overlap.
Yeah, I have been struggling with this release of this book because I don't know why anyone would give a crud what I even think. I'm growing with that. I'm wrestling with that. But this is probably one of the more egotistical routes I've ever taken in my life. I was just like, oh, I should just write a book because people tell me I need to write a book. And I was like, oh, this is an easy access point for me to do that. I hope it helps somebody. I hope it resonates with somebody. I hope that somebody out there takes something from it that helps them. Like I always ran up against frustrations and problems in Chicago because coming into improv from the Peace Corps route, for me, my job, so I've said this before and I'll just repeat it because it's an easiest way to explain it. I am not a functioning member of society. Like I'm just not, I know that. And that's fine. I know who I am. Like I am a comedian. Like I'm not somebody who's changing the world. But what I can do is in giving somebody laughter and allowing them to escape themselves for a minute. I allow them to function better. I help them get their chemicals righted so they can do really good things. I am not a brain surgeon. I will never brain surgeon. I am not even close. But if I can make that brain surgeon giggle, they can brain surgeon at a better brain surgeon level than brain surgeons.
Yeah, sure. You
So
kind of got to know where your gifts lie, and you have to kind of, I say, know what your gifts are, exploit them for service.
yeah, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yep.
But I have found too that I have to be really careful anymore, not to ad nauseum, about the what I say from
Yeah.
the platform,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody is like, for example, right now, I wrote my little book, this little sweet tea book, this little book here.
Yeah.
And I was very blessed that it got to be in Cracker Barrel and everything.
I know,
So
I saw it.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, and I saw it the other day. I was so excited about it. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
was
send you
so
a picture.
excited.
Yeah. I'll have to send it to you.
Oh gosh, please do. Anyway, so when I wrote the book, my agent said, "Oh, don't put that part in there about the farm." And I said, "Oh, it's my favorite part." And so I got a really bad review from somebody who just totally misunderstood. But this has led me to understand it was like the good bad, like you said, the Peace Corps thing was your good bad.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, you know what? I need to educate people. So I went ahead and started writing a novel. Now it's dark,
cool.
and I'm not dark, but I guess I'm becoming dark. But it's deep, and so it's something I've always wanted to do. So last week, I actually signed a contract for a film option.
Hey, congratulations! That's great.
But see, but isn't that cool? But what did it come out of? Me reading a really bad review, going, "What?
Yeah.
Say what? This is just devastating." I just, why would they? So, with adversity, many times, as Nito Kubain would always say, there could be a gift in that adversity. And we've got to find it. I mean, if I were you, have you written anything about just the Peace Corps experience in anything that you've written in your thought book or in your RV book? Is there anything in there about that? Because I tell you, that's interesting to me, is the journey. And so anything you could glean out of that, I think people would love as well. I mean, in a maybe another future book. I hate to put that on you, but when you go from comedy, from Peace Corps to comedy, that's your journey to discovering your gifts. I mean, to me, that's the book. Another way to look at it. And how you went through the tough stuff, and you realize how much people needed humor. And that's why a lot of people tune into this, because they simply want to have 1 hour of their life where they can understand the comedy, the humor, the funny stuff, and they're maybe dealing with something pretty tough, like you've been through with your own son. These are the things people gravitate to. They just want some laughter that creates such levity. It's such a psychological thing, what humor does. That would be a good book.
I absolutely agree. I mean, for me, there's a couple of things I want to talk about based on what you said. I mean, I think first, the idea that anything that goes wrong is just going to be wrong is not my idea of how I want to function, because I am under the definitive impression that if I wait long enough, if I sit tight long enough, anything comes back around and is useful to me. Like I've said for many years, I'm not a person that has regrets, no regrets for this guy, because I know that I at least enough like the person that I am, and I can't be the person that I am in this moment without all those dominoes having fell before I got to here now. So if that is bad, if that is good, it has made me, and it has made me stronger, because I now know. So a long time ago, I heard one way that I don't know where this was sourced. I apologize for anybody who's going to now go look this up, because I'm not going to be able to help you with that. But what I had heard was that if you close your eyes and run yourself through terrible scenarios, you're more better placed when those scenarios come up. So for instance, and that's just life experience, right? If you were a paramedic and you're used to seeing people bleed out, and you function in that, and you know how to deal in that situation calmly, you're more apt to do it well when that situation arises as a paramedic, right? So if I close my eyes and envision myself in a space where somebody is bleeding out, I can walk through the steps in my mind to get me there and keep me calm. I think that our experiences let us stay calm when things go worse. And for me to close my eyes and go, okay, what's the worst version of this? How do I deal with it? Cool. Now I can do anything else. I can conquer anything else I need to. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I always say, is it probable? Okay. Yeah. I mean, is it possible? Yeah. Is it probable? No. I
No,
mean, and
yeah,
that's, your mind can just totally run away with you when it comes to how thoughts can be planted. And
yeah,
you have to tell yourself that, yeah, anything's possible, but that is not probable. But you're
right,
right.
yeah, right.
I think that's why so many older people are so laid back and chill, because it's
Yep,
like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. We had that
yeah,
happen. Let me tell you what happened. And
yeah,
they are completely classically chilled.
yep, absolutely. I mean, in regards to my son, when we first found out about Sam, his name's Sam, by the way. When we first found out about Sam, we were the stress that
I
I
can't imagine.
experienced was unbelievable. And it is a perpetual worry, but where at the beginning it was so stressful, I had a hard time functioning.
I
Now
understand.
it's normal, and our normal, our my level of stress, my standing level of stress is now a normal level for me. That is a normalcy that if I were to put that on somebody else, they would not function for a while, because
I
they
got
have
you.
that normalcy has to become the new norm, or sorry, that
Right.
stress has to become the new norm so that you can then function. And now my kid, he plays soccer, he does all sorts of stuff. That is a constant worry, but life is going to be what life is. And we're not going
Yeah.
to stop him from living his life because of our fears or anything like that. We might as well just accept that this is the way that this is, and do what we can to run those worst case scenarios in our head so we are prepared for them, and then move forward. I mean, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking at you, and I apologize. That's not
No, no, no. That's, a lot of people, need to hear that, there's stuff happening in people's lives and families, and as long as we keep up with the warning signs. That I have a son that has a genetic issue, and we always have to, and he's older, and we have to say, son, blah 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 blah, and we
yeah.
have to be sure that he's checking every box. And as
Hmm.
long as you're tuned into that, and as long as you're on top of it and don't deny it, it's just like, if there's a health issue, you definitely want to see it checked. I mean, not to
Yep.
necessarily segue into something like this, but of course, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month,
Oh yeah,
and
there you go.
and
Yeah.
everybody needs to be proactive and get your
Hmm.
mammograms, and
Very
and
important.
and don't deny. Gosh, my sister did that, and she ends up having breast cancer and double mastectomy, and it was so stressful on the family.
Yeah.
And because as soon as you're told that, your mind just goes racing into the worst scenario
Oh
ever.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
you're right, and you've got to learn to deal with these things. That I have a slide in my program, and I do PowerPoint because I'm so ADHD, and everybody else is too. And it's simply this: you can't put high heels or um, pearls on a Holstein. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
just simply this: some things you cannot change. You just
just
can't,
can't.
as much as you want to. So you got to change you and get the skills to handle that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had to go sit down with a therapist when our family had some problems, and not immediate, but my extended family. And it was the best thing I ever did. It's
Yeah.
just I didn't want to be gripped with fear.
Yep.
Zig Ziglar said fear is false evidence appearing real. I
Oh yeah.
love that. I think about that all the time. False evidence appearing real. And
Mhm.
fear is the opposite of faith. And totally, it will take your head and it'll twist your brain, and you'll wake up, from dealing with your child. You
Yeah.
will paint the worst picture, and you're not doing yourself. It's paralyzing. Fear
Yeah.
can paralyze people.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, hey everybody out there, get your tatas squished. I mean, y'all can just see from here up. I can't. I might be part of the crew, but nevertheless, get your tatas squished every once in a while. It's very important. It's very important.
Every year, get that taken
Every year.
care of.
Get them
So
tatas
many
squished.
women. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I wrote the little book. Hi,
See, there it
Thomas.
is. I was trying to set you
Yeah.
up for it. I was trying to set you up for it, Jane. There you go. Some ta-ta
Yeah,
space.
it's all important because I wrote my newsletter about this because I said that our bed is now electrified and it's shocking why. And it was so funny because we are all over health now because Thomas inverted on a inversion table about a year and a half ago and popped a blood vessel in the base of his head. It's a miracle he didn't have a massive stroke. And
Wow.
so we are all over health, let me tell you. I mean, so our
You
bed
mean
actually
you mean you're
plugs
over it,
in.
like you're diving into health, or do you mean like
Oh
you're
my
over
gosh,
like forget it,
yes.
I'm over it?
We're like, yeah,
Oh, okay,
I mean,
yeah.
the stuff that we use. Thomas was talking today with David last night, who's a nutritionalist, as I mentioned, and so David saying, "Oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah, that's good." And so now Thomas bought an electric sheet. Can you imagine? It's
So
called grounding.
what does
Yeah,
it
it's an
do?
electric sheet.
What does an electric
Well,
sheet do other than boogie
you
woogie woogie? Hey, there we go. You too. That's right.
you plug it into the third socket, the grounding socket,
Yeah.
and it's got these little taps. And so I mean, I see a wire. I'm going, what is this? And Thomas said, "Oh, I don't know, but it's good for you." That's the line.
Does it shoot electricity through your body at
It,
night?
it's it's supposed to rejuvenate your all the electricity and all the little toxins in the. Listen, I
That
will tell you, I do sleep on it, but the only result that I have seen so far is our cat is puffed up like this,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
our
say that
kitty
doesn't
cat
sound like
loves it.
pseudoscience in any way, shape, or form. No
No,
way. That
but I
seems
mean,
very backed in science.
oh man, he all kinds of stuff. The stuff that he does, he I heard him grunting, coming up. We have a long staircase, and he's carrying one of these dumbbells, just He said, "I just heard there's something good for it." And then I'll look and he'll be squatting. I'll say, "Okay, what are you doing?" Well, you're supposed to
Oh,
squat. Even David Mine said he's got neighbors that are Vietnamese, wonderful neighbors. He said they squat all the time. You're supposed to
oh,
do that, and I'm thinking, oh, I can do that, but somebody's got to hoist me back up. You know?
well, with the appropriate wince, you could get yourself
Yeah.
back up.
But
But
it's true. Once you get our age, I mean, you could. I mean, I leaned back to pick up something. I went, oh my god,
yeah,
it's just
that
stuff
popped
like
out.
that. Our bodies are not made to last forever, but we can create our own what they call blue zone. And if you look
Mhm.
into any of the blue zones, in fact, there was a woman that did a facial here at this resort place for me, my treat to me, and she's buying a place in Costa Rica and she's going to make it all blue zone friendly. And
Oh,
she's
interesting.
having retreats, but she has a heart for Vietnam and other veterans that have PTSD. Isn't that just
Mm,
incredible?
that is
How she's
cool.
going,
That's really,
and I told her, I said, well, you need to bring in some humorists. So I recommend that Pat come into
there you go.
Costa
Come on,
Rica
let's
to
get
make
in there.
us
I can act like a dummy around a bunch of veterans. Doesn't matter to me. Let's do that.
laugh. Well, I
That's
love that when people have a heart connection. See, that's what keeps you in the business. That's
mhm.
what keeps you in the business. When you see when folks enjoy you and laugh and learn at the same time and walk away refreshed, that keeps
Mhm.
you going, I got to do this some more.
I mean,
That's what it is.
I love doing what I do. I'm so excited that people let me do what I do. I'm so excited that I have an opportunity to be with people to do that and to help them learn how to take care of each other, maybe, or at least in my version of what taking care of each other looks like.
Right.
Um, it's I feel extremely I mean, honestly, for lack of a better term, blessed that I get
Oh,
to
absolutely.
do what I do every day. It's really nuts. I don't, I'm still wrapping my brain around why anybody lets me do it, but I love it. And I'm so happy they let me do it. It's
Well,
just
you
great.
do great. You do great. I love
Yeah,
seeing
thanks for
you in action when we were here in Orlando. It was so good, Pat. This has been a real delightful conversation. And I
You're,
appreciate your taking that deep dive because, comedy and humor and all of that. But I think what you and I've done in this is just kind of go deeper. And why do we do what we do? And
I
what
agree.
it means to people. And, we have to go through stuff ourselves to see that there is a whole another surface that if we can bring that to the top and use that in our craft, it is a gift and it is a blessing. And we always need to have a heart of gratitude. I'm all over
Agreed.
gratitude.
Agreed. Me too. Life's
And
way
I'm
too
grateful
short.
for you, my friend.
And you're
Thank you.
great. I'm so happy we got to hang out.
Okay, now, Pat, you got to tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So I think the easiest way for you to get in touch with me is my website, which is patdwyerwastaken.com. Because well, it's because patdwyer.com was taken when I tried to buy it, so I bought patdwyerwastaken.com, and so that works out pretty well. The other, you can get me on any kind of version of social media at I know Pat Dwyer, because you do know Pat Dwyer now. What else can you do? I'm teaching a comedy intensive here pretty soon, specifically for speakers. So that would be another way if you want to chat with me about that. That would certainly be a cool thing to do. But yeah, those are the big ones right there.
Well, I thank you for sharing that, and I will definitely put that in the little notes, and people will be
Great.
able to copy, paste, and get with you. Thank you again. Mwah, mwah.